and welcome everybody to the Buddhist Recovery Network Academy. I'm Susanna, joining you from Helsinki, Finland, and I will be your host today. I'm a Buddhist in recovery from multiple addictions. I'm training for ordination at Triratna Buddhist Center. I facilitate both 8-step recovery meetings and mindfulness-based addiction recovery courses here in Finland. I'm the vice president of the board of Buddhist Recovery Network. And Beth, our lovely Beth, is doing the tech today. Thank you so much for being here, because I did the tech last time because I didn't have any voice, and now I know what amazing job you're doing, because I wasn't maybe doing as well. But thank you for your generosity, Beth. So today we have a teaching offered by Academy teacher Reverend George Beecher, and the topic of the teaching is Happiness Follows Like a Never Departing Shadow. And I will be telling about George and the teaching a little bit more just in a while. So the format for the next 60 minutes is that we are going to soon have a meditation led by our teacher. Then there's the teaching, and then there's Q&A. That means questions and answers. If you don't speak English, you might not know what that means. So then a few words about Dana. All of our teachings are given freely, and we're blessed with some amazing teachers like George, who have experience on the cushion, experience working with body, speech, and mind, experience in the ongoing practice of recovery by the way of Dharma. As we practice the Buddha's teaching of generosity, we invite you to give dana that will be given to support Buddhist Recovery Network and to support the teacher, of course. You can give on one-time or recurring basis using the link that is going to be posted in the chat field by our lovely Beth, and we sincerely thank you for your generosity. And then I would like to introduce our guest teacher. So George Beecher first encountered the Dharma in 2010 when he read Thich Nhat Hanh's and Dr. Lillian Cheong's book Savor about mindful eating and the Buddhist path. Over the next 11 months, George lost 110 pounds and found a passion for the Dharma. This passion for sharing the Dharma led him to find his own local meditation group, Two Hands Sangha, in 2012, and the Mindful Eating and Living Sangha, that is MEALS program, in 2014. He has since launched and led various in-person and online Buddhist communities, including over 30 Recovery Dharma chapters. He served the Recovery Dharma community at both the local and national level as it formed and grew to over 500 chapters worldwide. In 2018, he graduated as a certified facilitator through the original Against the Stream Buddhist Meditation Society, taught by Vinnie Ferraro and Joanna Hardy. And in June 2022, he completed the Dharmacharya training program with Venerable Panavati and Panadipa of Heartwood Refuge, and ordained as Reverend George Beecher, Dharmacharya Kantu Apati. In 2020, he started the first ever Recovery Dharma meeting in virtual reality and enjoys teaching the Dharma and leading meditations twice a week with the Mindfulness VR community. And be sure to listen to his podcast, and Beth is going to put the link there as well. And the podcast is called Tea with Mara. It sounds very brave, though, having tea with Mara. And about today's teaching. In this talk, we explored that the Walk for Peace monastics have to teach us about an ox, a plow, a shadow, a dog, and happiness. Their message is a simple one. Peace is something we choose. Together, we remind ourselves that the path is not about eliminating struggle or avoiding pain, but about choosing the direction we move in and the companion that joins us on that walk. Drawing inspiration from the monastic's message, today will be my peaceful day, we see how peace is a practice rather than a destination. We are not asked to avoid conflict, silence pain, or arrive at some perfect state. Instead, we walk the path of life as it is, choosing peace again and again until it becomes our shadow that never departs. So the screen is all yours, George. Thank you for being here with
Yeah.
us.
Thank you for having me. And now I'm nervous that I can't maybe live up to that nice intro. I hope I can. Listening to that, I was like, that sounds like a really good Dharma talk. I don't know if mine is that good, but I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm just very honored to be here. The I've always wanted to get involved here, and the opportunity came up, and I'm just super grateful for it. As we get started here, we'll start with this meditation, and we'll see. It should be about 15 minutes or so, and we'll just see how that goes, and then we'll lead into from that into the Dharma talk, and then the moment that I'm done spending time with you here, I'll be walking out the door and into a full day of mindfulness here as well with my local sangha. So they're right out here behind me, probably watching, and let's get into some meditation. So just go ahead and start getting yourself seated and comfortable, and we'll begin. All right, so I don't have a bell here with me, so we'll just begin, and we'll start by settling into our posture, finding a position that works for you. I'm I'm very loose when it comes to position. I don't think there's a posture that is necessarily better than another one. So the Buddha said seated, standing, lying, or walking, and that's pretty much all of the postures. So find one that's comfortable for you and let the body begin to settle. Let the hands rest naturally wherever you like, on your knees or palms down or palms up, or one inside the other, whichever you like. If you're comfortable, allow your eyes to close or soften your gaze if you don't feel as though you want to close them. And I always like to start first thing with just a big, deep in breath and a longer, slower out breath. And again, just breathing in and out as you need. You can let your breath return to normal, whatever that is for you. There is no right breath, as there is no right um, posture. The posture that you have is what works for you, is the right posture, and the breath that you have is the right breath for you. So allow that to return. You don't need to control anything or shape anything, just allow it. And noticing that the breath just constantly is moving through you. You don't have to breathe. Breathing just happens, the same as life is already moving around us and just happens around us all the time, for better or worse sometimes. And as you sit here, you can begin reflecting gently that this recovery that we practice in is not a destination, it's a direction. And you can just notice the feeling of the body sitting here, and the contact it's making with whatever is supporting you, a chair or a cushion or the floor or whatever it is, the space around you. And allow yourself to imagine that you're walking. Not walking toward anything or away from anything, just walking, no destination in mind, step by step, breath by breath, moment by moment. And just allow, maybe when you're ready, uh, an intention to come to mind. And some people don't like guided meditation. If that's so, then just let the words kind of wash past you, and sit with your own experience is fine. But bring to mind, if you are going to participate in this, a simple intention of today, I will walk in peace. Today will be my peaceful day. You don't have to walk perfectly, and you don't have to walk forever. We don't even have to think of walking just for today. We can think of it as just this step, and then this next step, and so on. And as you imagine yourself walking, imagine your foot lifting and moving and placing again and again. And in your imaginary walk, what thoughts arise? What feelings come up? Do you notice resistance or doubt, softness, perhaps hope? It doesn't matter what it is, but whatever it is welcome. That's the practice that we're doing. And noticing too that anytime things begin to feel uncomfortable, notice that you're not walking alone. We're walking this together. Just as the monks walked within their community and then out into the wider community, and then through many, many, many communities, from Texas all the way to Washington, D.C. They didn't walk alone either. You can imagine walking down a path, and beside you is your life just as it is. Your history, your habits, whatever fears and longings and strengths that you carried and learned and brought along the way, all walking with you. Nothing needs to disappear. Nothing needs to be left behind. Nothing needs to be solved. Just walking. And you might imagine the sun behind you, and on the ground before you, your shadow. And the shadow is peace, not something that you're trying to gain or get, not something that you're forcing. It's just something that is here. It just appears because of how you are walking. Walking with honesty and with kindness and willingness. Walking with presence. You might notice that when you walk this way, peace just naturally begins to arrive with you. and walk alongside you. And when you're ready, you may bring to mind something that is perhaps a little difficult, a craving, a fear, maybe a sadness. And see if you can be gentle with that and allowing instead of pushing it away. Imagine that you're allowing it to walk beside you. And notice the shadow of peace is still there, even when the discomfort is walking beside you. Both things can be true at the same time. We can be uncomfortable and still be able to walk in peace. You don't have to eliminate discomfort in order to walk peacefully. You only need to choose the direction that you walk. You can use a little gata like Thich Nhat Hanh might have offered, breathing in, walking in peace, breathing out, letting peace follow. And then you can bring to mind someone who has walked this way before you, perhaps your teacher, if you have one, someone who chose service and chose kindness, someone who chose love, even in difficulty, and chose to share it with students. You can imagine them walking. When I imagine my teacher walking, Venerable Panawati, I imagine her singing as she walks or humming. You can imagine them beside you like a shadow, always there, even when they're not, they're there. And you can recognize that this same kind of peace, this same path is available to you at any time. Breathing in, today will be my peaceful day. Breathing out, peace walks beside me. Peace walks with me. And you can rest in that for a few moments. And you can allow the simplicity of this walking and breathing and this peace following. You can allow it to be there. You don't have to hold on to it for it to be there. You don't have to uh, complete anything else for it to arrive. You don't have to create it. It's already there, just walking beside you. And then when you're ready, you can uh, begin letting go of those thoughts and feelings and all the sensations that might have arisen during that. And sometimes that can happen quickly. Sometimes it can take a little time to let go of that. Take that time. And then when you're ready, if you're ready, you can pause. Imagine your walk coming to a stop, and you stop and bring your feet together in that imaginary walk. and and in that moment, you stop all of the things. Take a deep breath in and a longer, slower out breath. And in this standing, in this stopping, this pause, if you feel moved, you might bring to mind the great teacher, Venerable Panawati, who herself was a previous speaker for this BRN Academy, and my beloved teacher, and who supported all of us, who practiced the Dhamma in countless ways, um, both common and extraordinary, if you knew her, and whom I mentioned earlier. You know, she was an incredible teacher. Bring her to mind. You can see the picture being shared of her. And earlier this week, she passed away. Perhaps with her in your mind and heart, if you feel moved, you might wish to offer her some metta phrases, some phrases she herself sent out to all of us many times, many, countless times. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. And may you be happy. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be happy. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be happy. And as you let go of those phrases and those wishes and let them continue out into the world, we can all dedicate the merit of our practice here together today. May the merit we have gained together here today go out and alleviate all the suffering of all beings everywhere. May we all be happy. May we all be peaceful. May we all be safe and at ease. And we'll end the meditation there. Thank you. All right. And hopefully everything is working along nicely. It looks like from the screen, it looks like things are. And we'll go ahead and move into a talk. And I'm really glad that we did that meditation first, because I myself could use the time there to listen to that, practice even as I'm saying it, listening to it and taking it in and calming down from a busy, hectic day. So thank you so much for having me again. I'm doubly honored today that two people I admire a lot thought of me when the need arose, and that led to us being here together. When Beth and I were discussing things, we were both talking about how our Buddhist world is all abuzz from the Walk for Peace monks right now, and so I thought that talking about them seemed like a timely message, and the message that they delivered and how genuinely it impacts us in our own practice in our own lives every day. And to talk about how the peace that they were sharing is a peace that walks beside us, like the meditation we just did mentioned, the kind of peace that stays with us, the kind that the Buddha was describing when he said happiness follows like a never departing shadow. I imagine many of you, like me, have been inspired by these monks as they made their journey to Washington, D.C. I know at least one among us was in Washington, D.C. for that. Watching them walk and physically walk so incredibly far across this country, not asking for anything, not asking for help, not asking for and often refusing donations. In fact, at times across their journey, they begged for people to no longer bring anything for them because that's not what they were trying to accomplish. And, in fact, if you attended any of the events, typically you would find the team supporting them was providing refreshments for the crowds, not the other way around. And it was really something to see. And seeing them do this, not only wanting to give, not take, but give one thing, a simple teaching of today will be my peaceful day. No promises about tomorrow, not pretending to be perfect or anything like that, just giving this message of peace being available to us at all times. And that's what we need to heal the world right now. And just that today. And they say, I will choose and walk in peace. And what strikes me most about this is that they were not walking to force peace on us or anything like that. They weren't fighting anyone. They were just walking, just walking. That's it. Demonstrating that all of us can choose peace with every step, as Thich Nhat Hanh was fond of saying. We can choose peace in every moment if we have the moment and the space to choose. And happiness grows and grows all around us when we do that. In the world just as it is, which means warts and all, as my mother used to say. The monks are choosing the direction and they're choosing the intention, which is to say that they're creating the karmic conditions of peace. When people tried to interrupt them along the way, which didn't happen very much, but when it did happen, and some zealot or someone with something they felt was a more important message would try to interrupt or overwhelm them with those messages or those signs or shouting with bullhorns and all of these things. They responded by offering those people flowers, by trying to give them blessing cords, by telling them that they loved them. And you've probably seen the videos. There's even situations where those people came back later and apologized for their behavior, having considered whether they were being polite or not. It doesn't mean they changed their message. It just means that they recognized they were not being peaceful themselves. And, that in itself is a noble achievement in this day and age. In the Dhammapada, there's a pair of verses that many of you have probably heard, which say, mind precedes all mental states. Mind is their chief. They are all mind wrought. If with an impure mind a person speaks or acts, suffering follows him, like the wheel that follows the foot of an ox. And then the second verse is similar, but it's about acting with a mind that is pure. It says, mind precedes all mental states. Mind is their chief. They are all mind wrought. If with a pure mind a person speaks or acts, happiness follows him like a never departing shadow. So before we go any further with that, we should talk about pure and impure, because those can be very off-putting words sometimes for some of us who grew up in some particular other kind of practice. When the Buddha talks about a pure mind and an impure mind, he's not talking about good people and bad people. He's not placing a judgment on anyone. He's not talking about being perfect or being broken. He's talking about what the mind is actually doing right now. An impure mind is a mind that's caught up in craving and resisting and ignoring. I need this. I can't feel this. I can't deal with it right now. This has to stop. A pure mind is one that stays with the experience that generates those kinds of thoughts and feelings in this moment without trying to escape it, and says, maybe this is hard, but I can be with it here. For those of us in recovery, that's the whole difference. Not perfect versus flawed, but reacting versus relating, or running versus staying. And every time we stay instead of run, even for a moment, even in the discomfort, that's a moment of pure mind. And that's when peace can follow, and it is cumulative. It has a kind of a momentum to it. And what I love about these phrases, at least the way that I experience them, is that he's talking about how if our intentions are to grasp or to push away or to ignore reality, then the result of those actions will be that our habitual mind will drag us around like an ox drags a cart. We will not have agency in our life. But when our intentions are rooted in kindness and compassion, in a wish to be of service and of help to others, then we are helping ourselves. And then from those intentions, we will walk in peace, and happiness will just show up. And it will walk alongside us like a shadow that never departs. And I'm sure you've all noticed there's a really good reason that Dharma-based recovery is so helpful. It's because we aren't addressing a particular substance or thing or whatever it is. We're addressing the root cause of all of those things, of greed, hatred, and delusion. And the Buddha didn't create a drug or alcohol or gambling program or anything like that. He created the suffering recovery program. It's the ultimate recovery program. He cut right to the chase with it and bypassed all of those things to get to the root cause. And just as the peace monks were sharing the message of choosing peace in every moment and letting those actions and intentions grow the fruit that they wished to receive, and in so doing allowed everyone to receive it, you might say they created the shadow they wished to have follow them. And that same message is true for us in recovery and for everyone. Recovery is not an achievement. It's not something that we finish or graduate from or anything like that. It's a direction. And it's a direction that we choose to walk every single step, and one that we have to choose to move toward. And if we wish to lead our shadow, that's called happiness, then we make those choices. And instead of being dragged around by the plow, that's called our habit energy. We don't wake up one day and say, hey, I'm permanently healed from suffering. We wake up and say, today I'm going to walk in the direction of freedom. Today I will walk in the direction of peace. Today I will walk in the direction of indestructible happiness, as the jazz genius Wayne Shorter said. Also a Buddhist, by the way. But that work is not always glamorous. It's quite often very repetitive and tiring, and sometimes messy and muddy. And it involves us showing up again and again, putting one foot in front of the other, doing the next wise thing. If you saw those monks talk about their walk and talk about how they're able to do it, if you imagine that they're talking about recovery, then the talk is the same talk. Where the misunderstanding comes in, I think, is that most of us think that peace comes to us once the craving stops, once pain goes away, or once the past gets resolved, or relationships become easy, which in my experience isn't a thing that happens. The mind is supposedly going to become quiet once we have done that. If this, then that, which, if you're old enough, that's the basic programming language. If this, then do that. And if then statements are trouble statements. They are happiness. If it rests on an if then statement, we're in trouble. So we think that the mind will become quiet once we gain those things. But the Buddha's fundamental core teaching and the example of the Walk for Peace monks is that facing the truth that suffering exists and acknowledging it is something we do alongside of the fact that happiness also exists, and that we can also be happy even in the presence of uh, unhappy. And the question is which one we want to choose to move toward, and whether we want to lead the way toward it uh, or be dragged away from it. Addiction is, deeply connected to the attempt to eliminate discomfort, to silence pain or outrun fear. That's a big one. Or to escape loneliness or control an experience. That would be something I'm familiar with, wanting to be in charge of the situation. And so recovery then is not just stopping doing a problematic thing. Recovery is us learning how to walk with craving, how to walk alongside fear and uncertainty, and have tea with Mara, as we joked about earlier in the thing. It's how to be with uncertainty and to be with grief. I've been seeing so much grief lately, and so many people who think that uh, they think that they are their grief, and they identify with it and lock into it. And grief, there's no wrong way to grieve, and it can be something that can last for a very long time or not. And there's so many ways it can come up, and it's totally okay. Whatever you're experiencing with grief is totally okay. But where it becomes a problem is if we begin to identify with that grief and make it our identity. And then that's very problematic and more difficult to let go of, but still not impossible. And there's so much joy and all of these things around us. And this is where the image of the shadow, the idea of that shadow in the meditation, becomes really powerful to use, because happiness is not the goal of the walk. Peace is not the reward for finishing the walk. The monks did not finish their walk. They made it to the initial destination they chose, and then they had another destination back home. And then I actually happened to be in Texas, about 30 miles from their temple, on the Lunar New Year, and I so badly wished I could have gone, but I wasn't able to. And they had a celebration, and from what I understand, they've announced that they will now be going to Sri Lanka and bringing back a sapling of the Bodhi tree to plant in their. I don't know where they're going to plant it, but so they're just on a different part of their journey now, and I guarantee you that they are waking up every day saying, "Today will be my peaceful day." So peace is, again, not that reward. It's what appears when we walk our lives in a certain way, when we walk in integrity and compassion and service and honesty and connection. That's a huge one. We tend to isolate, and that connection is a lifesaver. It's a raft. And this week, I was reminded of this in a very personal way, as we've kind of touched on here a few times. My teacher, Venerable Panawati, passed away this week. And like most people, when someone we love dies, of course, there's grief, and there's sadness, and there's longing for it to be different. Now, longing for it to be different is one thing. Needing for it to be different is where, as she would have said, we begin to concretize. And there's this wish that things could be different. And so much of what made her a powerhouse, if you've seen her teach, or have ever met her, she's a powerhouse. And what made her such a powerhouse, in my view, was that she met the reality of the moment as it was, and she didn't say, she didn't meet the moment and say, "Oh well, that's just the way it is." She met the difficult moments, sometimes some very difficult moments, and she said, "Okay, that's how it is, and let's see what we can make out of that." And let me tell you, she was a maker. And there is also something else, because she did not wait for life to become easy to get around to doing something. She just jumped in and did it. And she did that. And that was how she brought the shadow of peace alongside her everywhere she went. She didn't wait for suffering to disappear before serving others. She didn't wait for perfection. She didn't wait for the conditions, to be created in order for her to show kindness. She just walked it day after day through illness and challenge and uncertainty and change. And she chose with every step happiness and service and love again and again and again. And what I saw, and what many of us saw, and what I loved so much, is that happiness followed her everywhere. And if you were lucky enough to be in her presence with that, you got to be a part of that happiness. And she didn't drag peace behind her. Peace raced to her side and walked beside her, never departing. And the last teaching that she offered, when the nuns around her asked her what they should share with people, was no coming and no going, no birth and no death. And again, reminding us that it's not about starting here and ending over there. It's about walking in peace, and that is liberation. Liberation is not a life free of pain. Liberation is a way of walking that no longer depends on pain disappearing. The Walk for Peace monastics aren't trying to fix the world when they set out walking. They just set out walking peacefully into the world just as it is, allowing it to be the way that it is. And peace showed up along the way for the peace monks by the tens of thousands over and over again at every moment along the way. Recovery for us is the same. We don't become peaceful because addiction is gone. Addiction falls away because we begin walking in peace. And, we don't become free because life becomes safe. We become free because we no longer demand safety in order to live before we live wisely. So I just urge you to take the lesson of those Walk for Peace monks, and every day or every moment, if that's what you need, say to yourself, today will be my peaceful day. And if we do this, even imperfectly or haltingly or with doubt or grief or longing, happiness still follows like a never departing shadow, not because we chased it, but because we stopped chasing everything else. And I'll stop there. Thank you for having me today.
Thank you, George, for such a beautiful teaching. And something that I kind of like, I heard in there was this new way of relating to life, new way of relating to suffering. And that's, at least for me, as a Buddhist in recovery, something that Buddhism has introduced to me. So I'm going to say a few words about the Q&A, because now it's time for that. And also, I want to share in the chat Venerable Pannavati's teaching in Buddhist Recovery in 2024, so you can see for yourself what George just described. Okay, guys, so now it's time for the Q&A. It'll be recorded, but we will not publish the Q&A part. Okay, so thanks for today's teaching, George. If you feel like it, when you're behind the screen there all over the world, our little Sangha community here, you can send a virtual reaction of your choice to show George your appreciation. And then a few words about Dana. And you can also write to the chat your thanks. So your generosity can help to strengthen the recovery community and to grow the academy, and can be a practical expression of gratitude and metta. What a great Buddhist practice. We invite you to practice generosity and give Dana in support of these teachings, to be shared with our teacher and with Buddhist Recovery Network. And Beth is putting all the links to the chat, and we will keep the room open for a few minutes after the top of the hour, so you have time to copy them. And then there's the listen remember to listen to the podcast, Tea with Mara. So that's there. Then there's also George's website. There's so much text in here. Our podcast and YouTube channel will be in the chat as well. Facebook group, we have a Facebook group, and please answer the membership questions. They are for everybody's safety. That link will be there as well. And then we have a Buddhist Recovery Network Summit coming up, and it's not written here, but it's going to be, it's the 1st of October till the 3rd. It's going to be in Oakland. So we are live there, live in flesh and blood and whatever parts we have. And of course, we'd love to see you next month at our next BRN Academy event, which is happening Sunday, April 5th, with our BRN president, excellent teacher as well, Walt Opie. So, George, would you please lead us to the world with the, in Triratna, we say transference of merits, but you had a different wording for that, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate it. I'll just use the same words that we used earlier, which is if we settle in and take a deep breath in and a long, slow exhale and say, may the merit that we've gained here together today go out into the world and alleviate the suffering of all beings everywhere. May we all be happy. May we all be peaceful. May we all be safe. And may we all be at ease.